Manchester City 1, Liverpool 1. That is the final score at the Etihad Stadium as the top two teams in the Premier League battled it out to share the spoils. A point apiece is how it ended. Premier League football is back, ladies and gentlemen, and I, for one, am loving it right now. Hey guys, welcome to the channel, welcome to another video. Yes, for today's video we're talking about the big game that of course took place today between Manchester City and Liverpool, finishing 1-1 between these two sides, the top two teams in the division right now. Another Premier League battle unfolded before our very eyes at the Etihad Stadium between these two sides. Liverpool didn't lose, and I think that was mainly the big part about today. That was mainly the big... the overall goal, obviously, of today. I know it's obviously stupid of me saying it, but Liverpool not winning, tough to take, always, for me. But Liverpool not losing was always going to be big in the sense that the Etihad Stadium, being away from home, having a 12:30 kickoff, all of those things combined seem to obviously put elements of doubt in the minds of Liverpool fans, and myself included. I wasn't exactly looking forward to this game as the game drew closer. I knew that Liverpool had a fighting chance as always, but with history going against us, I don't think we've won at the Etihad Stadium since 2015 in the Premier League, that is. You know, I think it's like 8-year spell of not winning at the Etihad Stadium. Our away form isn't exactly great. And of course, you're throwing a 12:30 kickoff, which has always seemingly been a bit of a voodoo, bit of a curse for Liverpool. It had all the makings of a game that Liverpool were probably going to not do well in. And to be fair, the performance wasn't incredible by any stretch of the imagination, but it was a solid enough away performance to get a point and to obviously caused City some food for thought, I guess you could say, as the game unfolded. Controversy. There was obviously an element of controversy in the way that Ruben Diaz's goal was chalked off for a foul on Alisson Becker. We should address this straight away because we would be hypocritical if not. I felt the goal should have stood because of obviously the PGMOL's response to the Arsenal-Newcastle goal that stood for the Magpies when they beat Arsenal a few weeks ago, in the sense that they said the goal should have stood because they couldn't tell the force of how Gabriel was pushed to the ground. Well, fast forward to today, and again, we're talking about VAR yet again because Alisson Becker was pushed. Was it a clear and obvious thing? Was it a very, very much a forceful thing? Again, it's up for debate. It's controversial. But if you're arriving at the conclusion of one goal, why weren't you arriving at the conclusion for this goal in the same manner? It is very strange to me that that goal was chalked off. It's a huge sigh of relief for Liverpool, don't get me wrong. But at the same time, should that have been allowed to stand? I think it potentially should have been. I think it was a lot weaker than the one that was on Gabriel. But the Gabriel one was allowed to stand. This one was not allowed. And it was still 1-0 come obviously the equalising goal by Liverpool 10 minutes from the end of normal time. I thought the first half, for the first 25 minutes, I thought was a solid away performance by Liverpool. I thought they quietened the crowd. I thought they survived one or two moments, which was obviously going to be the case at the Etihad. I thought that obviously City were going to dominate possession as we knew they would. Liverpool would try to hit them on the counter-attack. City would have dangerous possession in key areas. Liverpool would try and play the ball out from the back and then go long. That's exactly what happened, and for the most part, for them opening 25 minutes, Liverpool quietened the crowd down. And then a few minutes before Erling Haaland put City 1 goal in front, you could sense the momentum was gathering for City. You could sense that they were getting a bit of joy down that left-hand side. They were overloading with Jeremy Doku against Trent Alexander-Arnold and Joel Matip. Szoboszlai was trying to get over there as well, but they were trying to overload that area in particular. So they were getting a lot more joy down that side Doku is incredible to watch, by the way. Like, he is insane to watch, by the way. And he's someone that obviously Liverpool have been linked with as well, and someone that I would have thought Liverpool might have actually gone after during, obviously, the time of them being linked with him. But obviously they didn't. He went to City. He's incredible to watch, by the way. I thought Trent stuck to his task well for the most part. And I thought Matip and Szoboszlai helped out a lot in, obviously, when Trent was being more inverted and trying to get more on the ball in the midfield. So I did think we did our best to try and neutralise that side of things. Didn't necessarily work out completely. There were a few times where Doku got some joy down that left-hand side, but that was always going to happen. There was always going to have to be some sort of sacrifice down that side in order for Liverpool to try and play their game, which, like I say, wasn't exactly perfect. The goal comes from a mistake by Alisson, and we were warned beforehand when Alisson made a mistake by giving the ball away in a dangerous area to Phil Foden. Luckily, Foden's effort was straight at Alisson to obviously deny the deadlock being broken much earlier. It's a poor kick out from Alisson. It's a slip from him. It's poor from the Liverpool defence that they don't stop the threat. They don't stop Ake. They leave Haaland unmarked, and he's going to be dangerous from that position. And of course, as it proved, he was very dangerous from that position because he put City a goal in front. Quickest player to reach 50 goals in the Premier League, I think. So, congratulations to him. Annoyance, of course, but at the same time, understandable when you consider the level of threat and danger that obviously he possesses and what we basically gave him in the end. Because, like I say, defensively, we weren't great, and we lost control of the game in those few minutes leading up to the goal. We lost control, we lost our composure, and mistakes were happening left, right and centre, and you could sense that City were smelling blood at that point. We held our own though. We've weathered the storm a little bit, got back into it. Second half comes around. Make a couple of substitutions. Jota goes off injured. Hopefully it's not too serious. But at the same time, I do have to criticise Jurgen Klopp. I felt starting Luis Diaz would have been the way to go in this game. I know he's been through a lot in his personal life and everything, but over the course of the international break, he looked good for Colombia. Scored a couple of goals. Had his father obviously released and was obviously back with him and everything. So it's fantastic for his personal life. I would have thought starting Luis Diaz would have been the way to go, because I genuinely thought that Diaz would have given Kyle Walker a torrid time. And I feel like Walker was too comfortable for large parts of the game with Jota being on that side rather than Diaz. I feel like if Walker looked at the team sheet before the game, I would have felt like he would have been praying that Jota would have been starting ahead of Diaz, and that's obviously how it proved to be. I didn't think Jota got into the game as much. Didn't think he played the game that obviously Jurgen Klopp wanted him to, because I understand the argument of starting Jota, especially if you want to keep hold of the ball, maybe have him drop in midfield for his movement and everything, and for his off-the-ball work as well. But at the same time, I felt he didn't do what Klopp wanted him to do in that game, which is why I would have thought Jota going off and Diaz coming on would have been the way to go at half-time. Left it afterwards. Jones also went off. Again, I thought he had a pretty solid opening 20 minutes and then sort of got lost in the game in the build-up, or the long and lengthy minutes build-up to City's goal. And then, of course, the controversy happens. City think they got a second goal. It's arguably that it should have been given, wasn't given. Liverpool get away with one there. I'm sure there's going to be a lot of talk about that controversial moment in the game. But City never really challenged from that point forward. City seemed like they've run out of ideas. I think there's full credit to Liverpool for that. Yes, there were a couple of hairy moments by Liverpool, a couple of big saves from Alisson in there, and a couple of big blocks as well. But at the same time, I don't think City really went with a gung-ho approach that they normally go to in these types of games, and didn't really step on the throats of the opposition and didn't let up. And that's what allowed Liverpool back into the game. Diaz involved, switching from left to right. Obviously, the quick build-up play down that left-hand side. Diaz switches the ball from left to right, like I say, to Salah. Salah tees up Trent Alexander-Arnold, and a brilliant finish from Trent. Brilliant finish. The control Wasn't exactly perfect, but he managed to redeem himself. It was an executed, brilliant, accurate finish into the bottom corner to beat Ederson and get the equalising goal. And you think it's going to set up an exciting 10 minutes. Liverpool seem to revert back to, we'll take the point, go 1-1. Understandably so. They bring on Endo, they bring on Harvey Elliott. I was hoping for some sort of Endo 30-yard screamer as a winner. That obviously didn't happen. But it ends up finishing 1-1. And like I say, I think it's a big point for Liverpool. I think it's a big milestone as well as to how far this side has come. Obviously, a win would have been perfect. And we're not going to deny that. I'm not going to say I'm not disappointed to obviously win. But for a draw to occur here, for a draw to occur in a place where we don't normally get much joy out of, it's not normally that great. We have issues away from home. We are up against the best team on the planet right now in Manchester City. A point is brilliant. And from a City side of things, Haaland scores his goal. Absolutely brilliant achievement what he's managed to do. Doku was electric. He was definitely a live wire and caused us problems all game. I understand that. Bernardo Silva was magnificent in midfield, as much as I hate to say it, because I think he's a bit of a rat. But he was magnificent in midfield. Defensively, they were solid. Ederson made a few decent saves to deny the likes of Darwin Núñez and I think he denied Núñez on a couple of occasions actually. Denied him on a couple of occasions. I thought it was a solid game all round by both sides. I thought, like I say, Liverpool got something out of the game which I felt they deserved. I'm not saying that for being biased or anything. I genuinely felt like a point was definitely warranted by the Reds. City winning would have been harsh, I think, but at the same time I can understand why they may feel a bit downbeat by obviously the VAR call on the Ruben Diaz goal for Alisson. But yeah, solid. Issues that overshadow this point: Jota's injury. Hopefully it's not serious, and Alisson Becker looked to go down right at the death with a seemingly hamstring problem. That is really worrying. The Jota thing we can sort of work around. Alisson Becker being injured, that is a major concern. And I know that he made a few mistakes in this game, and for whatever reason, the Etihad seems to hold some sort of voodoo curse over Alisson, in which he does make these types of mistakes in these sorts of games. But in saying that, I hope it's nothing too serious. Otherwise, we've got Kelleher as a stand-in, as a backup, and he may be used a bit more often, which, you know, might be good for a goalkeeper. He may have had his gloves a bit cold in recent games, and obviously only being put in the types of Carabao Cup and Europa League games may have caught him off guard a little bit, but, you know, fingers crossed Alisson's okay. It's not going to be a major injury for him, and fingers crossed he'll be back in goal, in between the sticks, ASAP. Look, it wasn't a perfect performance by Liverpool by any stretch of the imagination. There were still issues there. But to say that we went there with a makeshift defensive midfielder, to say that we, for the most part, thwarted Manchester City's attack for the most part. I know they had a lot of chances, but they weren't really clear-cut chances, I don't think. They had one or two here and there, as you're going to expect from Manchester City, especially with them being at home. I think this is a massive point for the Reds. I know Arsenal fans are looking at this and loving the both sides dropping points in this. So I know that they're going to be looking forward to their game against Brentford later, where they can properly take advantage if that obviously comes to fruition. But I think it's a very good point for Liverpool. It's a big point. Going away to a ground that's never normally been our favourite, never normally been a great ground to go and get something out of. Massive point for the Reds. I'm happy by it. I'm not completely happy. I would have loved the win. Admittedly, I would have loved the win. But at the same time, I'm more than happy with the point. I'm more than happy to take a point, get back underway. A lot of work still to be done. A lot of things still to be done. But it does show that City can be vulnerable at home. City aren't perfect this season, And the hope is that this obviously gives teams a bit of confidence going into games at the Etihad that they can get something themselves. So I'm really happy with the point. Trent's goal, fantastic. Brilliant performance by Trent overall. I think he was very, very good. Whether it be defensively or going forward. I think he played some great passes. He was brilliant. For Bernardo Silva was brilliant for City, like I say. Doku was electric. Salah had a quiet game for us. Nunez had a few chances and a few opportunities here and there, but ultimately forced Ederson into making a couple of smart saves. But he was a bit of a handful. McAllister was solid. Jones, like I say, for the first 20 minutes was really good. After that, dropped off. Liverpool's defence was solid for the most part. I'm happy. Alisson's performance was a bit dodgy and a bit suspect here and there, but we got away with it in the end. Hopefully his injury isn't too serious. Fingers crossed we can continue and move on from this, knowing that probably, with all due respect, our toughest game of the season, our extremely toughest game of the season, is over and done with. And we've got a few of them tough games out the way and done with. You know, we've been to Stamford Bridge already. We've got this game out the way and done with. We had Newcastle out the way as well. So we've got a few of our tough games out the way. And now we just got to move on. We've just got to rotate well. We've got to keep things fresh really well. We've got to hope that injuries don't become a common occurrence for us like they are happening for other teams. We're quite blessed, actually, for the first time in a long time, that our only notable absentee before this game was actually Thiago, which was obviously predictable. Almost as predictable as, you know, City claiming that the likes of Erling Haaland and Ederson and Doku and whoever else was going to be injured from international break. We all saw through that. We all knew that they were going to be in the starting 11 or in the matchday squad. We all knew that. It wasn't exactly going to be mind games. We all knew what was going to happen. But going back to my original point, before that, Thiago injury. Now it seems we've got maybe Jota to worry about, as well as potentially Alisson as well. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. Hopefully it's a bit of a tweak or something that can be rectified and obviously put right within the coming days, maybe a week or two, maybe at most. Hopefully it's nothing too serious. But yeah, fingers crossed on that one, and fingers crossed that Liverpool go marching on from this. On City, dropped a fair few points this season. Dropping points to Chelsea before the international break, dropping points to Liverpool here. Dropping points to Wolves, dropping points to Arsenal. It's not great. It's not great, obviously, if you're City, you're not looking forward to this. And it does beg the question as to whether or not City have quite declined. And I think they have in terms of the midfield battle, of course. Kevin De Bruyne is a massive absentee for them. But did they maybe jump the gun a little bit and maybe selling the likes of Ilkay, or getting rid of the likes of Ilkay Gundogan, should I say? Obviously remains to be seen, but I think there are some causes for concern there. I think there is a case that maybe they are trying to shoehorn a couple of players into certain positions. The likes of Julian Alvarez, for example, as great as a player that I think he is, maybe he doesn't exactly deserve a place in this team unless he's going through the middle. Ultimately, though, they'll feel a little bit hard done by. That, of course, the VAR goal went against them, but at the same time, I think a point apiece was probably the fair result. Those are just my thoughts. Those are just my opinions, predictions, whatever you want to call it, of this guy. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of anything that I've said in this video? What do you make of the match reaction to this game? What are your own thoughts, comments, opinions, predictions, feelings, whatever you want to call it? I'm sure it'll make for interesting, great reading down below in the comment section, because I'm sure it'll make for interesting, great reading. Otherwise, hit the like button on the way up if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always and very greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another match reaction. Come on, you Reds. Big point today against Manchester City. Really happy about that. Really, again, win would have been perfect. A point, good enough. So, really happy that we didn't get absolutely humiliated, as we sometimes tend to do in this kind of game. But, yeah. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Take care. Have a good rest of your Saturday. Enjoy the football. And I'll see you all again very soon. Peace.